Okay, so this is another balancing problem. And again, the first thing we always do is we make an element inventory. So sodium, Na, is one element. Now, the next thing that I see is this compound, NaNO3. And I see NO3, which is one of my polyatomic ions. But NO3 is not on the product side. So I can't balance this as nitrate groups. I have to balance them as nitrogens and oxygens separately. So now I take my element inventory. On the left-hand side, there's two sodiums, Na. And on the right-hand side, there's two Na. On the left-hand side, there's one nitrogen. On the right-hand side, there's two nitrogen. On the left-hand side, there's three oxygen. On the right-hand side, there is one oxygen. So now that I have my element inventory, I start adding coefficients. I add coefficients, and they're multipliers, and they make the number of atoms on each side of the equation the same. So sodium is already balanced. Nitrogen needs to be balanced. So I look at the lower number. What number do I need to multiply 1 by to get 2? And that would be 2. So if I put a 2 coefficient there, that's going to change my element inventory a lot. Now it means that there's actually 3 sodiums on the left-hand side. There's 2 nitrogens and 6 oxygens. So now I can go through and I can balance the other elements. Sodium needs to be balanced and oxygen needs to be balanced. I'm going to balance the oxygen next. I'm going to leave sodium to the end because I notice right here sodium is by itself, which means it's going to be easy to balance at the end. So let's balance out my oxygen. I'm going to need to add a number that when multiplied by 1 gives me 6, and that is a 6. When I do that, my oxygen becomes 6, my sodium becomes 12. 6 times 2 is 12. Now, I know that the only thing that's left to balance out is sodium. And I probably don't want to mess with this guy because he's got every element in it. And if I start changing the coefficient on that, it's going to change the number of atoms of everything. So what I want to do, I still need to add a number so that there's 12 sodium on the left. If I stick with putting a 2 in front of the Na2, NaNO3, I can put a 10 here. If I put a 10 here, that brings my sodium count up to 12 because I would have 10 sodium from the first element, from 10 Na, and 2 from the 2 NaNO3. And now, if I go back and double check, yep, 12 sodium on each side, 2 nitrogen on each side, and 6 oxygen on each side. So it's balanced.